Welcome to Must See IMDB, a podcast where we break down the IMDb's #1 top-rated episode of a classic TV show, and then we discuss, did the IMDb voters do the show justice? Or are there some hidden gem episodes that need to boost up the list? I'm Abby.
And I'm Katie.
Now, you may have noticed that our voices are exactly the same because we're Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Oh, dear Lord, we are not.
But we are twins.
As kids, we watched a ridiculous amount of television and continue to do so right through to today. We watch, we discuss, and now we're discussing with you.
And today we are discussing Full House. We definitely watched this show a lot as kids. Can't say that I've seen every episode, but I've seen probably almost all of them.
This was like water cooler TV for the elementary school set. I mean, do you remember Friday night, TGIF, like drop everything. This was the thing that we had sleepovers for. This was basically our entire school's jam. Like everybody watched this. I even talked to my husband and confirmed that he too was a big TGIFer.
My husband is able to like name all the characters, but was not a fan of this show.
My husband actually watched this show, which was kind of surprising to me. For some reason, I thought, maybe since all of the kids on the show, or at least the main kids are girls, maybe boys didn't watch this. But he was like, oh, yeah, it was like the Friends in the lineup. You know what I mean? This is the one that you watched. And then the others were, maybe.
Well, one distinct memory I have is that we were watching this show with your childhood friend named Hillary.
Oh my gosh, and her older sister, Casey.
Flashbulb memory for sure. She came in and told us this was the worst show ever and that Michelle Tanner was the worst.
She also told us that when we got older, we were going to hate this show. And I remember thinking, why is she saying these horrible things and they're so not true and that will never happen? I will love this show to my dying day.
Well, ring-a-ding-ding, Casey, we have a winner. She's kind of correct. I remember really pondering what she was saying because she was an older girl.
She was cool.
Well, she was the DJ and we were all like the Stephanies.
I just remember being mad that she was like raining on my parade. She was like stealing the one thing that I looked forward to and kind of dumping on it.
Yeah, but she's totally correct. Now, I say this as someone who not only watched this as a kid, but who then watched the reboot that was on Netflix for 5 seasons. It ran on Netflix, Fuller House, wherein DJ and Stephanie return to the home. DJ is now the widowed parent. Kimmy Gibbler moves in to help out. Stephanie moves in to help out. And it's basically the next generation, exact same premise.
Now, how do they get this house from Danny? Like, is he not still living there? What's the deal with him just like abandoning this house?
Well, let's rewind in time all the way back to Full House, wherein the premise is that Danny Tanner has lost his wife. He has 3 young daughters. So we've got oldest daughter, DJ, middle daughter, Stephanie, baby daughter, Michelle, and he is a widower. So his brother-in-law, Jesse, he moves in. Then the best friend, Joey, moves in. So it's the 3 men raising these 3 girls and everyone kind of passing around the parenting and the kidding, as it were. So then in the reboot, DJ is, now an adult. She moves initially in with Danny to get just his help with her 3 kids. She has 3 boys, of course. Then Danny has to move away for a work project. So he's like, you know what? You just stay here, keep the house. I'll go move, do my thing, and come back to visit whenever I can. So that's how they get away with that.
But it's interesting, the progression of our lives with this show, because we have 2 younger sisters who are at least 10 years younger than us, and they became obsessed with the whole Mary-Kate, Ashley Olsen juggernaut. And you and I were stuck watching Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen solve a mystery. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen go to Paris. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen have a rock band. And I just remember hating those videos and thinking, should I Casey this situation and like dump all over this horrible set of at-home videos and whatever on our 2 younger sisters? Or should I let them just enjoy the horribleness while they do until they grow out of it?
So did you dump or did you not dump?
I remember rolling my eyes and being a little petulant about it, especially, when we had to like sit there and watch it with them. But I don't know, we'll have to ask them.
Well, I think we both realize this is a show for kids because obviously we loved it as kids. And then you grow up and you're like, oh my gosh, they're treating especially Michelle like little circus performers or something. I mean, it really is horrible. I definitely feel just bad for Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen now. However, I sat down with my 9-year-old daughter and made her watch the #1 rated episode. And I made her watch the Steve Urkel TGIF crossover episode. And of course, she also does not know who Steve Urkel is. But I was like, what do you think of this show? And who is your favorite character? And if her favorite character is Michelle. And I was like, okay, well, they still know how to sell this to kids because even kids of today are lapping up the Michelle Tanner.
Oh, absolutely. So it's interesting that you did that. I just started watching and my kids happened to be in the same room playing some video game. I could tell that the little one was getting upset at the older one because he was getting distracted by the show and no longer paying attention to their video game. And by the end of it, they were both hovered over my shoulders, watching with me, laughing at the jokes, thinking it was all hilarious. And I have to say, I wasn't really super looking forward to having to watch a bunch of Full House, but when I watched it with my kids, it was like 100 times better. I found myself laughing at the jokes because they were, literally rolling all over themselves on the floor at some of this stuff.
Yeah. And I think we also talked last week about how this was saccharine and maybe a little cheese whizzy. And that was really everywhere around every corner. So I did watch a few episodes that were really, really bad, especially when they go to Disney World and it's literally just 2 episodes of nothing but a commercial for Disney World. That one was excruciating because there was just nothing fun about it. And also, this show jumped the shark like in season 2.
It jumped the shark on like episode 2. You know what I mean? It's a jumping the shark kind of show.
Yes, it's always just like, and now let's have the Beach Boys show up. And now here we are at a telethon that was the worst telethon episode I've ever seen. It was just boring in the way a real telethon is.
We love telethons as kids.
Well, remember when we watched one of my favorite Golden Girls episodes is where they have a horrible time trying to keep a telethon going in the middle of a hurricane.
But I remember the Full House telethon. I remember loving it as a kid. I thought it was great.
Oh my God, it's terrible. They make DJ sing a song about lollipops just to like roll Michelle around in a cart so that Michelle can look cute. Then they have Stephanie doing a Love Shack dance, but she's like an average dancer. It's like you or I in our bedroom doing a dance to Love Shack, but we're supposed to like think what she's doing is special when it's just average.
Okay. Before we get all down on Jodie Sweetin's dancing, she seems like a pretty cool person. In real life, she loved dancing, right? And she really did go to a dance school and dance class. And I know that was kind of a thing for her character as well. And every time her character on the show had like a dance number, she would get the producers to use her dance class friends and her dance class teachers to like choreograph it and do the routine, which I just thought was kind of a cool thing of her to do to like say, hey, all my friends, do you want to be on this crazy show that I'm on? And they were all like, yes. And she's like, okay, let me make that happen for you.
Yeah, I will say that of the 3 sisters, Stephanie is my favorite. Jodie Sweetin just knows how to like deadpan humor. Like she knew how to do it when she was like 6.
If she had been the child that grew up into Michelle, the show would be like 100 times better. I feel like out of all the child actors, I feel like she was the best.
Yes, I agree. And it's actually fun to see them as adults. I think Candace Cameron Bure got way better as an actor. She actually reminds me of Lori Loughlin as an adult in her acting style. Like I almost feel like she turned into an Aunt Becky and she's just channeling that as she leads the show now in the lead mom role. Jodie Sweetin is still the funniest, although then you have Andrea Barber, I hope I'm saying her name correctly, as Kimmy Gibbler, and she really shines in Fuller House. I think in the adult show, Stephanie Tanner and Kimmy Gibbler, that duo has a lot of crossover in the show because they're taking over sort of the Uncle Jesse Joey roles.
So which one's which, would you say?
So Stephanie is supposed to be like the cool aunt who comes to town. She has like a singing career like Uncle Jesse. She's creative and a performer. And then Kimmy Gibbler is, the wild, zany Joey type.
Well, Kimmy Gibbler as the Joey totally makes sense.
Okay. We've gone over the premise. We've chatted a bit about the stars and the reboot, but let's head over to IMDb and check out what they, or I should say the voters of IMDb, say is the very best episode of Full House. They say that it is an episode from season 4 called Secret Admirer. This is episode 11. So a brief synopsis is that Danny is dating a new woman named Cindy. We've already met, I believe at this point, her trickster son, Rusty, who likes to just make trouble. And boy, is he at it in this episode. DJ is in love with the local paper boy who drops by to pick up his money for the paper.
Yes, and it's reminiscent of the theme song, whatever happened to predictability, the milkman, the paper boy, they have a paper boy.
Yes, very adorable. Anyways, Rusty sees this and decides to make trouble by writing a anonymous love letter as if it's from the paperboy to DJ, but of course, anonymous, just, signed hot for you, for example. He tells Michelle, bribes her to give it to her sister and say it's from the paperboy. Michelle delivers the letter to Stephanie because he said sister. He was not clear who. And she tells Stephanie the truth that it's from Rusty. Well, now Stephanie thinks that Rusty is writing her love letters and she's totally grossed out. She tosses it into a laundry basket, which Joey gives to Cindy, Danny's new girlfriend. Now Danny's new girlfriend thinks that Joey is hot for her. Cindy freaks out and tosses the letter on the table. Aunt Becky finds it and thinks that Danny has left that for her. So basically this note goes round and round. We've got Kimmy thinking that Uncle Jesse is hot for her. By the end of it, everybody thinks that everyone else is hot for them. And this is hilariously reminding me of the very best episode of Frasier that we discussed.
It's a little different though. It's the opposite. It's like everybody has unrequited I don't want you to be loving me, rather than I'm really in love with someone. They all think someone's in love with them and they're not. So it's a little bit of the opposite there. Oh, fun fact to further tie Full House to Frasier is that all 3 girls on the show attended Frasier Street Elementary School.
Fabulous. Maybe lunch was tossed salad and scrambled eggs there.
Every day.
Okay, so that's basically it. And one other thing I thought was interesting, and this is tying it to another, what IMDb said was the best episode ever, is when we were watching the finale for the Golden Girls, and at the wedding, there were all these voiceover.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Yes, that's all this show is. Half of it is just looking at the actor's face as we hear their internal monologue, thinking that person X is in love with them.
Yeah, even the dog Comet gets a little voiceover at the end. I thought that added something. So at the end, they're all sitting down to this big picnic thing, and then it goes around the table and you hear everyone's, I thought it was a good, it's a good trope for people to use, because if people do it well, and some of the characters maybe perhaps better than others, it really can carry a lot of comedy and comedic effect on what's happening and then what they're thinking.
So what did you think of the episode? Did it tickle your funny bone as a grown-up?
Well, it did, because I had my youngest sitting next to me the whole time, and he was totally excited about the idea that, people were going to get in trouble for thinking the wrong thing, etc. Also, he really liked the Michelle moments. I mean, I didn't ask him who his favorite character was, but there's this great scene where Rusty is bribing Michelle to go take this letter to DJ, and she's totally manipulating him for more money. I mean, she's been around the block a couple times.
Well, tell you what, little lady, I'll give you this bright, shiny, new penny.
Don't be cheap, give me a nickel.
Well, you drive a hard bargain, but here you go.
Thank you very much.
However, as a grown-up, again, watching, you're just like, ugh. And there's even things you can find where essentially they had someone on set feeding them the line exactly how they wanted it said. And
you can see her look off to whoever that person is. If you really want to get disturbed, Ab, you can hop over onto YouTube, because there's an Entertainment Tonight behind the scenes exclusive, and they showed their coach, and not only do they show you her rehearsing the lines with the children, when they interview the 2 twins, the interviewer asks the question, the coach voices what she wants the kids to say, And then they do it. And if they don't do it, as effervescently as she wants them to, she does it again and like really emphasizes how she wants them to answer the interview question. And of course, E.T. did not cut any of this out. So you really see up close and personal how it worked. Talk about a dog and pony show. I mean, it just makes it so.
And it's clear that, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen had nothing to do with the reboot. And as a grown-up, I could not agree more. The reboot tries to laugh off, why Michelle's not there, but kudos to them for saying thanks, but no thanks. We want nothing to do with this.
I can't even imagine what a child actor goes through where you spend this whole formative part of your life being valued for your cuteness, being valued for the fact that you're a child, basically. And of course, nobody's going to last like that forever.
Yeah. And the show ran 7 seasons. So it wasn't just like you do some movies and then it fizzles. It was just like consistent over 7 years of your formative years of your life.
In 1991, both Olsen twins, so each girl was paid $25,000 per episode, which was landslides more than anybody else on the show. So in today's dollars, that's like 1.2 million, a year.
I feel like it's like the Eddie situation from Frasier, where like the dog is the most beloved and all the other people are like, this dog is not easy to work with.
Well, I think that was kind of a problem on a lot of the TGIF shows. And I think at least this one made that pretty clear from the beginning what kind of show this was to be. Originally, when they were creating it, it was not supposed to be this kids show. The original idea the show was pitched as was 3 comedians having to raise one of the comedians' kids. It was going to be called House of Comics, where all 3 men were going to be stand-up comedians. But somewhere in the creative process, it turned into a show about 3 kids who happened to be raised by 3 men.
But I do think that's where the family centric comes, because the TGIF block of 4 shows were all eventually very family centric shows. So I think they picked up that this is what kids were doing on Friday nights and to make it for kids. All right. So do we agree? Is this Secret Admirer, voiceover heavy, hot for you, rusty shenanigans episode our very favorite?
Well, I guess my concern going into this was that I was not sure that as an adult I'd find any episode that hit the nail on the head. I have to say I enjoyed this Secret Admirer one. I remember it from our childhood, but I remembered one even more, which is the Hole in the Wall Gang, also a season 4 episode 21. It's an episode where all of the adults are kind of out of the house for one reason or another. Stephanie decides that she's going to mimic DJ. She wants to be like DJ. So she literally dresses like her, puts her hair in that famous DJ bangs froof that we all know and love. And they end up getting in a fight and putting a hole in the wall of Danny's bedroom. And then the rest of the episode is them trying to figure out what to do about it. So that was a real visceral me remembering it, mainly because, spoiler alert, at the end, they managed to successfully get away with this. And it is the only episode where this happens in the entire run of the show, maybe even the run of all TGIF shows, where the kids do something wrong and totally get away scot-free. No music at the end that's emotional when they get forgiven. No, they completely get away with it. And that's, I think, why I remember it so well. So I went into this thinking, okay, that's going to be my favorite episode. And I did watch it and loved it. But an episode that I was literally going to skip over because I didn't think it was going to be super good. Maybe it's because I watched it with my son. But I'm actually going to go for the number 2 episode per IMDb, which is called Honey, I Broke the House, season 3, episode 20, where Stephanie gets in Joey's car, tries to turn on the radio, accidentally thinks that reverse is radio, and then backs the car all the way through the kitchen and destroys the house. Maybe because, Jodie Sweetin does such a great job, she really pulled off playing in the car and then the, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do, and then trying to sneak out of the house so well. She eventually shows up on Aunt Becky's doorstep because she wants to hide from the family because, she's running away. There's a coat closet scene where you open the door and Stephanie's literally in a coat hanging on the door. My kid and I were actually laughing out loud, which I did not think was going to happen for me when I rewatched this. Meanwhile, DJ, every time somebody walks into the kitchen, DJ's there with a camera to take a picture of their reaction. So she's got this funny storyline. everybody had a fun time. It was a real humdinger of an episode. So I'm choosing that. Honey, I Broke the House from season 3.
Those are all great. Well, as I mentioned before, my favorite daughter is Stephanie. So my memories of the show are definitely also Stephanie episodes. The first one I really remembered, also season 4. And I'll just say right now, if you're going to watch any season, I'd go for season 4. There are like a lot of solid episodes. As you mentioned, a lot of them are in the top 10. This one's nowhere near the top 10, but it was definitely one I remembered. This episode is called Slumber Party. It's the one where Stephanie's honeybee troop, which is, the Girl Scouts essentially, is having a mother-daughter sleepover. Of course, we know that Danny is a widower, so there's no mom around. But of course, Becky agrees to be her mom figure at this slumber party. And then meanwhile, DJ is having Kimmy Gibbler sleep over in Stephanie's bed, which Stephanie's not happy about.
I'll take this time to say, love this episode selection. Carry on.
Essentially, Aunt Becky gets car trouble. She can't make it back to town in time. So Joey steps up to the plate, wears his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pajamas, which I find hilarious because now as an early childhood educator, I'm telling you, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles continue to be popular to this day. So Joey goes in his pajamas. He's ready to put on high heels and do relay races. He jump ropes with Stephanie. He is really going for it. And one thing I'll just sidebar here, as a kid, I remember really not liking Joey, thinking he wasn't funny. He was kind of the wah of the cast. But as an adult, I'm going to give Dave Coulier way more props than I ever did as a kid. He's excellent in this episode.
Oh, I found other examples where I thought he did a really good job. And I'm like, how come more of the speeches aren't given to him?
Yeah, I'm not done yet with Dave Coulier. We'll go back to Dave in a moment. But there's going to be a makeover, and that's the last straw for Stephanie. She marches out. This is not going to work with Joey. And basically she goes home, and Danny tries to have a heart-to-heart, right? He comes to the bedroom to do the cue the emotional music speech. And DJ's like, you know what, Dad, I've got this. And she sits down with Stephanie. They have a sister moment, and DJ gives up on the sleepover with Kimmy and goes back to the slumber party with Stephanie to make it a great night for Stephanie. So I remember loving that episode as a kid. Not my favorite. Let me hit another Stephanie one, because I think Stephanie, again, solid gold in general on this show. So the other one I remember from being a kid, it's an episode from season 3. It's called Aftershocks, season 3, episode 11. And this is one where prior to the episode beginning, there's been an earthquake, and Stephanie is just clinging to Danny like crazy, always wants to be with him, sneaks into his bed at night, makes Michelle go with her. So it looks like it was Michelle's idea. And the grownups can't figure out what's wrong. What I find interesting about this episode is that Danny cannot solve the problem, and Jesse suggests taking her to a therapist, and Danny is like against it. And
really?
Yes. And Uncle Jesse is like, you know what? We don't know how to help her. We don't know what the problem is. And so we need professional help, and we need to do this. So it's Jesse who talks Danny into making this happen, which I also, as a grown-up, was like, wow, there was a lot more going on here than I remember as a kid. So I loved that. And then, of course, we find out from the therapist that she's worried Danny wasn't there when the earthquake happened. This was pre-cell phones, everyone. So no one knew where he was. And, I'm sure you can imagine, as a child who lost her mom, she's terrified that, she's going to lose her dad as well. So again, very sentimental problem, but also a serious problem. It's not even the car going through the wall, which is a very sitcom problem. This is, I don't know. I was impressed with how the show handled these larger issues.
Mental health back in that day and age, when nobody talked about therapy, it was considered taboo. It's still today, we're still fighting to make mental health issues something that we all can talk about and, be more open about. But wow, back in the day, good for them.
Yeah, I was impressed as a grown-up. Still not my favorite. All right. Wild that this was my favorite, but in rewatching it, and I think it was because it was just silly and fun. And Stephanie's hardly in this episode, so I find it wild that I picked this one. And here's the other wild thing. It's a season 7 episode.
What?
The show was terrible by season 7, right?
People were just picking up their paychecks and like reading lines with blank faces at this point.
Maybe it's because it had more grown-up things going on. Basically, here's the thing. And enter Dave Coulier again. Totally shocked how much I enjoyed this episode. Okay, the episode is, as I said, season 7, episode 13. It's an episode called Perfect Couple. The premise is that Joey has been offered a potential game show host gig. And ring-a-ding-ding, they have finally figured out what to do with Dave Coulier because he makes an excellent, awful game show host in the most hilarious way. So it's basically like the Newlywed Game, but you have a dating couple, an engaged couple, and a married couple. And then it plays out the same way. Can you guess what your partner said? So the 3 couples are DJ and her high school boyfriend, Steve, playing the dating couple. We've got Danny, who at this point is engaged to Vicky to be the engaged couple. And we've got Uncle Jesse and Becky as the married couple.
Oh, this is going to be so good.
And then, of course, there's an issue with each couple. The issues are that Becky knows everything about Jesse. He's an open book. She can guess everything about him. He's so predictable, which drives Jesse crazy that he's so boring. And you can see that he's going to throw in some hijinks to throw Becky off, even though it means they're going to lose the game. Meanwhile, Vicky, who's constantly out of town during their engagement, fails to show up for the taping. So Danny ends up getting stuck with the 60s aged executive assistant of some network person who bizarrely is able to guess all of his answers as well, based on her experiences from ex-husbands she's had.
Oh my gosh.
So there's comic gold there with Bob Saget playing against her. And then the DJ Steve problem is that DJ is worried that they don't really know each other at all, because it turns out Steve knows how to juggle. She didn't know Steve knows how to juggle. How did she not know this? Do they not really know each other at all? So she's...
Oh, please.
Yeah. And then you've got Dave Coulier trying to hold it all together when things are going haywire. And he's being told to kind of embarrass all the contestants, that that's what will make it more amazing, but they're all doing a fine job of embarrassing themselves. So it's really funny. It's funny in the, this is what I wish the telethon episode had been like, where it's just going nutso, and it's not about being cute, and it's not about parading small children in front of a camera. So I'm going to say that Perfect
this is
Couple,
so good. I got to go watch this one. I actually want to watch this one.
Well, and then here's the one thing, because we had been talking about Bob Saget and his recent passing, and Vicky, shows up at the end of this episode and is so sorry that she missed the whole thing. And basically,
is this the one where they break their engagement?
They break the engagement and the relationship is over, and it's really sad. And it's you've got that sentimental music playing, but rather than being like, we've had a heart to heart and now the problem is solved, he says, I love you, but I don't think that's enough. And she's got this great job offer, and it's clear that it's just never gonna work logistically. And even though they love each other very much, it's over. So kind of in the same way that the kids get away with the hole in the wall, I just love that the show was not able to solve this problem. And I think it's the best episode I rewatched. Perfect Couple, season 7, episode 13.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I did read up on Gail Edwards, who plays Vicky, did not renew her contract, I think after season 6, I'm going to say. I think she just kind of wanted to move on as an actress. Let's face it, this show wasn't very challenging in terms of acting.
I'm looking up if they go to Disney World at the end of season 6. Oh, yes, they do. I'm telling you, Kate, it's possible she did not renew her contract because of the horrendous season 6 ending where they go to Disney World, wherein they make Vicky sit on the edge of a fountain, have a bird fly into her hand, have her practically sing a song with this bird, and then let it fly away as Danny looks lovingly into her eyes. And that's when he asks her to marry him.
Okay, maybe that was the moment. Off stage, I think they brought like all of the TGIF casts down to Disney World so they could make it not just a 2-episode Full House commercial, but like an entire TGIF commercial. And then there was like some sort of celebrity beef or whatever, where the girl who played Topanga, she was like they were flying down all the actors together. and she was on the flight with her family, and Bob Saget like popped into their little area. He's like, I hope you guys don't have any Coke, and was making like drug jokes and then moved on. And they all thought it was hilarious. But then when it got retold, the reporter like made it this highly inappropriate thing. And she had to like go onto social media and clarify that they all thought that was funny. And she was trying to like, remember, like a fun Bob Saget moment. This was before he passed away, by the way. So, the media tried to create this beef between her and Bob Saget. But she was like, guys, we had a sense of humor about this. But I do remember that being a thing where he was caught multiple times on the set doing his raunchier comedy that perhaps wasn't so appropriate for young ears. And I wasn't even familiar with that. Like, I always thought of him as being sort of similar to his character. He's like the dad everybody wants. And then I I went as, I think, a college student and saw The Aristocrat, which is that documentary about the dirtiest joke in comedy, and how everybody throughout this entire movie is saying that Bob Saget tells this joke the best. And you're like, what? And you learn that in the comedy community, he is known really off-color comedy.
Still, everything I'm hearing is about what a kind, generous, like wonderful person. Listen, I totally get he's not Danny Tanner. At the same time, I think that kindness really shines through.
Yes.
Nobody on this show is a great actor. They're all just kind of making it through the script, which is also usually terrible. So I do think that just sort of kindness essence seems clear coming from him.
I totally agree. I just think he's more of a real human being and not that saccharine thing. I will say too that another YouTube deep dive that I went down, people were talking about how much better Bob Saget was, because the pilot filmed with a different actor and playing.
I did watch those clips of the different actor.
It is amazing because they show side by side. You watch his choices and the original actor's choices, and it's true. He was taking total claptrap, horrible writing, and actually making it funnier than the guy before him. And I'd say even other actors on the show. He had a really good sense of where to put that pause in or tweak that, accent on a sentence to make it really stand out and shine.
Yeah, I think there's one line in that Secret Admirer episode where they're debating the Dill versus the Gerkin, and just the way he talks about how he's planned his entire menu around the Gerkin. Yeah, he knows how to sell ridiculous dialogue.
Yes. Okay, I'll start off with the Olsen twins. Here's a fun trick to help you tell which one's playing the character. So Mary-Kate Olsen is left-handed and Ashley Olsen is right-handed. But of course, thank goodness they didn't make the kids like switch. So whenever you see Michelle writing or eating, you can tell which one it is because of which hand she uses. By age 6, it was floated to only have one twin keep the role, with producers choosing Mary-Kate to stay on. But John Stamos stepped in and he was like, you will absolutely not do that to these kids. Like, they're both going to stay on. And like, I'm leaving if you do this. So of course they decided to keep both girls. Oh, this is kind of a fun one. The Tanner's address is 1882 Girard Street, but the exterior shots that we all know and love of that row of townhouses in San Francisco, their real address is 1709 Broderick Street, if anyone wants to swing by and take a couple of photos. Oh, Comet, the Tanner's dog, also starred in the Air Bud movie. Do you remember that one? Same dog.
Oh, I heard about it. I did not see it.
Mm-hmm. And John Stamos does play drums for the Beach Boys in real life. He's the one that basically brought the Beach Boys onto the show because he does actually play drums for them on occasion.
Yeah, in that telethon episode that I'm telling you as an adult is horrible, Mike Love shows up and is like, yeah, you play drums for us, Jesse. And he like just, and you never see Jesse on drums. So it was very confusing to have Mike.
I know, he's
Love
always playing guitar, but he does actually know how to play drums.
Yeah. And then, of course, he does this ridiculous solo and Mike Love gets frustrated. But anyways.
I did go through just Bob Saget. My favorite fact about him is that, like many actors, John Hamm being one that I can think of off the top of my head, one of the gigs that he got was The Dating Game. Do you remember that show? Well, Bob Saget did this show not once, but twice. He lost one time and he won one time. But he mentioned that the time that he won was like this vacation trip to Guatemala. And the week after he went on the show, a war broke out in Guatemala. So he never got to go on the date with the woman that selected him.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So I found some Full House trivia, but it is so easy. I've aced all of them. So I thought we'd play a little Full House game because I'm sure we're all hot and bothered to know which character on the show are we.
I'm very hot and bothered about this.
Well, listeners, you can play along too. Once again, we're turning to BuzzFeed. This article is called Answer These 7 Questions and We'll Reveal Which Full House character you are. So, question number 1 that everyone ought to ponder. What do you consider to be your greatest quality? Your options are cheering up others, responsibility, being sweet, trustworthy, my good advice, musical talent, people love to be around me, and being level-headed.
Who were the 7 that we're choosing through? Is like Aunt Becky part of this? How does this work?
I'm guessing she's the being level-headed one.
Oh, maybe so.
I'm going to go with responsibility.
That's my answer. This is going to be boring if we both answer the same thing, but whatever. It's true. I'm very responsible.
I feel like we're already, I don't know, Danny or something. Okay, moving on. What's our favorite hobby? Boys, spending time with family, watching cartoons, doing your hair, soccer, dancing, going to the mall, or organizing and tidying.
Gee, I wonder which one is Danny on this one.
These are all pretty obvious. I'm going to go with dancing.
I'll say spending time with the family.
All right. What's your favorite food? Chicken parmesan, pizza, ice cream, fried chicken, cereal, anything you could bring to a picnic, gum, or mashed potatoes.
There's no other answer than ice cream. That is the answer.
I feel like gum is probably Kimmy Gibbler. I'm going to go with pizza.
Really? Over ice cream?
I just had some ice cream and it wasn't even a flavor I really liked. So I don't know. I'm not feeling the ice cream right now.
Well, that's why you are being odd about this.
All right. What is your worst quality? Smelly feet, bad at cooking, bad at handling failure, reckless, manipulative to get what I want, getting peer pressured, feeling like I need to be good at everything, admitting I'm wrong.
There's a lot of stuff on here that I am not, that matches me. It's hard to choose which one.
Oh, I know which one you are. All right, you, and I think I know which one I am. You tell me which one I am, and I'll tell you which one you are.
I think I'm feeling like I need to be good at everything.
Ring-a-ding-ding, correct. That is exactly the right one for you.
Thank you for telling me about myself. What about you?
Oh, come on. It's obvious which one's mine.
Admitting you're wrong?
Correct. That's the one I would have picked for myself.
Oh my gosh, we need to be on that couple game that, Joey hosts. We totally can guess.
We're the perfect couple. And by you admitting I'm wrong, I'm right. Okay. Choose a school subject. Dance, recess, I dropped out, drama, English, lunch, home education, science.
I'm going English.
Okay, English. I'm going drama.
What a shock.
Pick a college major. Education, journalism, psychology, pre-med, performing arts, general arts degree, marketing, or business.
I'm psychology all the way.
Oh, I knew you'd pick that one. I'll go performing arts. Lastly, what is your greatest fear? Not being liked, loss of control, failing, getting hurt by a loved one, not being remembered, lack of support system, being seen for who I truly am, or being in charge with no one to help you.
This seems very maybe not dark, but like way more deep than anything Full House ever got into.
I'm trying to figure it out. Like loss of control is Danny.
But that's me. Like I do not like not being in control, which unfortunately is totally my MO.
But who's not being remembered? Is that Stephanie? Is she like insecure about her role in the sister lineup? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Not being liked. Is that DJ? Anyway, okay, so yours is which? Loss of control?
Yeah.
Mine is probably failing. Oh, interesting. Did you get your person?
I have my person.
Who's your person? Who's your person?
I'm Danny Tanner. Who are you? Who are you?
Stephanie, the best character.
Oh, I am so jealous. I am Danny Tanner. I have needed to take control of my life and be responsible at a young age. As someone in the public eye during the day, I find it important to act as a role model and often feel my competitive side coming out to play. Oh my gosh, this is also true. I don't care about being hip, and who cares? That is also true. I cope by taking control of my environment and by critiquing the actions of others and upholding them to my standards. I love hearing them apologize to me even when I'm in the wrong. Oh, this is horrible, but mostly true. All right, so what are your greatest fears, Stephanie Tanner?
Okay, according to this, you are witty, sarcastic, and always cracking jokes whenever you can. You are very nosy and love getting involved in the business of others. You are talkative and energetic and love to express yourself creatively. You've learned to stand up for yourself when you are peer pressured, but are drawn to trying, in quotes, bad things.
Ooh.
When you screw up, you are really hard on yourself, as we all saw from your favorite episode.
Oh, right, when she's
ready to go to New Mexico after ruining the house. Okay,
this
that's
doesn't
interesting.
totally seem like you.
I don't feel like I'm like this at all. I'm way less interesting. Whatever. It's still Stephanie Tanner. I'll take it.
Yes, you can do like dance breaks and, be creative.
I'm pretty sure that's the only reason I got her is because I selected dance.
I wonder what you would have to do to get Joey.
Well, there was a watching cartoons hobby. Well, we have self-analyzed ourselves and this show and done an amazing job, I feel.
Indeed. Indeed.
Well, there you have it. The IMDB voters say that Full House's best episode is from season 4, episode 11, Secret Admirer. Now, I, Abby, also very much admire season 4 of the whole show. So if you're going to watch anything, start there, especially the slumber party episode, which is episode 4 of that season. But my very favorite episode shockingly comes from season 7. It's the show Perfect Couple, and it's episode 13.
I totally back you up on season 4 being great. I thought that my favorite episode would be the Hole in the Wall Gang, which is season 4, episode 21. But surprisingly, I was way more won over by season 3, episode 20, a Stephanie Tanner star show in Honey, I Broke the House.
All right, so let's segue into what are we doing next week? We would like to transition from San Francisco all the way across the country back to the East Coast to a little town known as Stars Hollow.
We've got another situation of single parenting happening, but it's happening in a very different way.
Yeah, there's no one moving in with Lorelai and Rory. They're on their own, taking on the world together.
Yes, Uncle Jesse doesn't show up on his motorcycle with a leather jacket, but Christopher does. So it's kind of, the same.
Yeah, and does Jess ride a motorcycle?
Probably at some point.
Well, either way, we're going from Jesse to Jess.
Exactly. How do you raise either 3 daughters or 1 with the help of a village, a community, a set of families? So get ready for the uncomfortable Friday night dinners, everyone.
Yeah, it's no longer TGIF. It's like, oh, Lord, it's Friday again. All right, so go watch some Gilmore Girls. We will as well, and we'll be back to talk all about it in 2 weeks.
Bye.